Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley Jones from Designs and Machine Embroidery, and welcome to our first ever Software Success Facebook Live. So, this will be the first of many where you can learn more about your Inspiration Series Dime software. We're going to go over all of the pieces at some point of Dime software, but we're starting with Embroidery Toolshed, which is actually a free version of software. So I can't wait to show you what you can actually do with a free program. And then we're going to talk about the other pieces as well. So tell me, I see a lot of you guys chiming in already. It's so good to see you. So tell me where you're watching from if you haven't already typed in the chat. And then I also would love to hear from you. Do you have Embroidery Toolshed already? And do you have any other pieces of Dime software? So tell me if you have any Dime programs, or if you don't have any software at all, then that's fine to say as well. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things, and hopefully we can get you guys going and get very comfortable with your software. You're going to love being able to do things in your software easily and manipulate your designs and create exactly what you were hoping for. So I see we have people from all over. So let's just say hi. So I see Galen from Texas. So welcome, Galen. And then I see Patricia from West Virginia. Hey, Patricia. We have Ohio. I see a couple of Ohios here. And so, hi, Pat. I see Eileen from Central Texas. We see Paula, Southern Oregon. I love this. People from all over. I see Pennsylvania. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So I'm so excited to share these software success Facebook Lives with you, because any of you guys that know me know that I absolutely love software. It is by far my favorite embroidery tool and the tool that I use the absolute most. It can help me adjust my design. It can help me correct a design depending on which program you have. There's just so many things that it can do for you that really makes your life easier. I truly believe that our embroidery machines are, they're obviously the workhorse that makes our embroidery happen, but my software can sometimes make my embroidery machine do things that it wasn't really meant to do, like stitching larger than my hoop. I can split designs. I can change file types if I have different types of machines. And so there's just so many things that you can do. So we have tons of people still joining, so we'll give a little bit longer. I see Holly Gale says that she has Toolshed and Pep and a few fonts. So that is awesome. I love that. So we are the tools that we're talking about today are some of the tools that we use every single day in our design editing, and then we're going to build on that as we go. So I just want you to see. So hey, there's Paola. She's part of our customer service. So you guys may have talked to her at some point. So thanks for joining. But you'll see each week as we're talking about the different pieces that a lot of the features, some of them overlap, and also the features for like the resizing, rotating, and things like that, it all works the same in every piece of Dime software. So even if you don't have a program, then you can join and possibly still learn something, because a lot of the things work the same even if you don't have that exact feature in your program. So like Mary Roberts says, hi from Oklahoma, and then she has Toolshed. Thank you for joining. So, and Patty says she doesn't have any software yet. So Patty, that's perfectly fine too. I hope that you'll learn some things today, and maybe that you can do, and maybe download our free embroidery tool shed. So Susan, hi Susan, thank you for joining. And she's from Watertown, Michigan, or Wisconsin, sorry. And then she has Toolshed and Perfect Embroidery Pro. I'm going to talk about Perfect Embroidery Pro next week, so don't forget to, or in 2 weeks, don't forget to join us again. So Toolshed and Pep, so tons of people piping in. So thank you all for joining. So And then would love the embroidery tool. The embroidery tool shed that we're talking about today is a free program. So you can download it if you like, and I'll show you where to get that. I'm going to show you the things that it'll let you do. And just so you know, the things I'm talking about today, you can do in any dime software. So it's good for everyone. So Kathy has PEP, and she said she needs to figure out how to use it. You're in the right place, Kathy, and I'm going to share other places that you can learn from as well. So, okay, so it looks like we have a good crew. So let's get started with what we're going to talk about today. So I just have a couple of slides to kind of explain this process. So what we're talking about today is a free embroidery software from Dime. It is called Embroidery Toolshed. So today we're going to talk about what Embroidery Toolshed is exactly, what you can do with it, and where do you get it, and where do you get help with it. So we're going to talk about all of those things today. So again, this is the first of many software success Facebook Lives that you will have every first and third Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. Central. So now Embroidery Toolshed. So Embroidery Toolshed is a free embroidery software, and it does install on either a PC or a Mac. So no matter which type of computer you have, you can install Embroidery Toolshed. So it does install on your computer. It allows you to view and do some changes to your designs, and then you would save that file and take it to your embroidery machine. So most of you guys probably transfer your embroidery designs to your embroidery machine via USB stick. And that's exactly what you would do with Embroidery Toolshed. So what can Embroidery Toolshed do? So it can do some basic design manipulation that I use every single day that I embroider. So I'm constantly copying, pasting, resizing, rotating, mirror imaging to adjust my designs. I love to merge designs together. So sometimes I'll put, two embroidery designs together like you see here happening. But this program will open, view, and save to all of your popular embroidery machine formats. And I'll actually show you a list of those. So if you're concerned about your program or your computer working, let us know in the chat. If you're worried about your embroidery machine model type, tell us over in the chat. So, and really the model doesn't matter. It's just we save to all those embroidery formats. So not only that, but you can actually convert the thread colors between brands, and I'll show you that. You can print actual size templates. We do have a built-in stitch simulator, which I find that I use regularly, and design analyzer. You guys are going to be impressed with this. So now, I'm going to show you those things and how to use them in this free program, but I want to give you a little bit more background about Embroidery Toolshed. So Embroidery Toolshed, we refer to it as ETS for short. It is the free program that you just saw in those slides and a couple little animations there. But Dime has 14 different pieces of software that all do different things. They all have different features, different tools, but some of them overlap, like our common tools where we resize and we rotate and we do the mirror imaging, things like that. But each of these pieces have specialty features like quilting with your embroidery machine, making freestanding lace with your embroidery machine, also creating quilting designs, manipulating text, and even making patches. So these specialty pieces of software, we have those all for purchase. But I'm going to be talking about the free Toolshed today. But these other pieces that some of you guys listed in the chat, as you guys probably know, and if you don't, when you install these, the features actually install inside of the Embroidery Toolshed. So Embroidery Toolshed not only is our free program, but it is the program that houses, so to speak, all of our other programs. So when you purchase any of these other programs and you install it on your computer, it puts all of the features, all of the tools from that program inside of your tool shed. So think of that as your tool shed having all of your embroidery tools in one place. That means I can access all of these tools from one location, and I don't have to open up separate programs, which is extremely powerful. So every piece of software that you purchase for Dime, it makes Embroidery Tool Shed even more powerful than before. So I love that. Now, I want to head over and let's start and see some things about Embroidery Tool Shed. Now, if you have any questions whatsoever, the chat seems to move really quickly. And so if you'll put a question mark in front, so say like 3 question marks in front of your question, then I can see that quickly in a whole bunch of questions and then be able to pick that out. So I see that Debbie is asking about will it work on Windows 7? And Karen so nicely copied and pasted the requirements. So thank you so much for that, Karen. That answers that question. So we support Windows 8 and later. So Windows 8, I hear, is about to not be supported by Windows. So we support what Windows supports. So if Windows is currently supporting Windows 10 and 11, that's what we support as well. So, and then we've got a question from Sherry. Maley says, will it affect the software I have? It will not. So the Embroidery Tool Shed, when it installs on your computer, it does not interfere with any other program. You could use that, simultaneously or separately. It doesn't matter. So I like to say we play well with others. so you're going to love this. Okay, so Ruth Ann says, if you have other software, before you get what if you have other software before you get the Embroidery Tool Shed? So Ruth Ann, same situation. It won't hurt, won't harm anything, won't affect any of your other programs. So they all work nicely together. And so, okay, let's head over and see the Embroidery Tool Shed. And I'm going to talk you through a little bit about this program. So first I want to point out, you can see that I have a lot of icons up there. That's because I own every piece of Dime software. So you can see over here, I'm in the bottom right here in this little shopping cart area, and I have a check mark next to every one of these boxes. And as I scroll down, you can see that I have all of these programs check marked. That means I own all of them. So first and foremost, because I have all of those check marks, I have a lot of icons up here. I have a lot of icons down the right, which are those other pieces of software where I can use those features. And it puts everything in one place. So I absolutely love that. But today I want to share with you just what you can do with the Embroidery Tool Shed. So what I'm going to do is just show you those free features that you can get if you want to download Embroidery Tool Shed. So you can see now that I have fewer icons, and I only have, and this is just something that I can do, I just have my one feature or my one Embroidery Tool Shed selected. So if you click this options here, you can see that I have tutorials, and each one of these actually has an option for the user manual for that piece of software and tutorials for those software. So when you're looking for help for these programs, click this options button right next to, and it'll give you other options. If you don't own those other pieces of software, believe it or not, it'll give you the option to try it for free. So it'll activate all of the capabilities. It just won't allow you to save. And then when you close your Embroidery Tool Shed and open again, you'll be right back to whichever version you do own. So some other tabs that we have down here we're going to be using. So this is where I can view and bring in my design. So the little book is my book of designs, and I'm going to just use the built-in free design so we can see how to use this. So now to get this design onto my workspace so I can work with it, I'm going to click and drag it onto the screen. Okay, and if you want more than one, you can do the same thing. I click on this butterfly, hold down my click, and I drag that onto the screen. So now I have two designs on the screen. So if I were to save this design right now, just as it is, then it's going to save as one file that I take to my embroidery machine. Okay, now let's turn on the realistic view so we can see this a little bit better on the screen. So I have the option for toggling between the realistic view and the stitch view. And so I'm going to leave that here just because it's really nice and visible. Now, Embroidery Tool Shed will allow me to, you can see I can move this design around. I'm just clicking it and dragging and moving it around, but I can open designs of any stitch file type, and I can also save to most all of your popular embroidery machine formats. So if I click File and Save As, this is how I would save my design and take it to my embroidery machine. So I give it a name, and then from this drop down list here, I know this is small, so I'll read some of them so that you guys know the different formats, but we can save to all of your popular embroidery machine brands, even commercial, not just home, even commercial brands as well. So we've got Brother, PES, Brother and Baby Lock, PES, Foth, Viking. There are several formats for each of those. So VP3, I feel like, is probably one of the most commons for those machines. We also have Singer XXX. We have Janome JEF. We have Bernina's EXP. And we also have commercial formats, and one of the most common being DST, because most all machines will read that DST format. So we do have a variety of different brands, and I did not list all of them. You can see in this list, it's very long, but I just wanted you to be aware that we do have formats for all machines. So once you select your format for your machine, and you click the save, it's going to save it in the machine format that your embroidery machine can read. So you save that on your USB stick, take this to your embroidery machine, and it's ready to stitch out. Really, really, really easy, right? Okay, so not only can we save and open, but we also can print templates. So have you ever wanted to do any kind of designing and you wished you had an actual printout or an actual size of your design? So that's exactly what you can do here. If you just click on the printer icon, it will show you what it's going to print. And it even gives us this nice crosshair, which is fantastic for my placement. So I can print this template out its actual size, because in my settings, I tell it that I want the actual size. I can also do crosshairs. I can print the color analysis if you like to print that out so you can see which color change is coming. And so you can make your selections and then click OK. And then it creates that PDF, and you can see now I have my color changes in here for my flower filled and my butterfly. So you would print that on your regular printer, and not only do you have a template that's actual size, but you also have your list of color changes as well. And again, you can adjust those settings and things like that. So printing, I love it. It's very important to me. I do it regularly. Now, this slow redraw here, have you ever wished you knew how your design was going to stitch out before you ever even got to the embroidery machine? I use this again so often. So this is a stitch simulator that I can click and drag, or either I can have it play at the speed that I have set. And you can see that it's just stitching along. So you could actually watch this stitch on screen and see exactly how it's going to stitch out. So I use this regularly. Sometimes I want to skip ahead so I can skip to the next part that I really want to see how it stitches, but I can move it as fast or slow as I want. And to me, that's super helpful, especially when you get into creating your own designs. Being able to see that simulation might let you know to make a change before you get to the embroidery machine. So we have the cut, copy, and paste features, which you actually, I think, use regularly. So instead of cut, I'm actually going to copy this one and paste it. So if you wanted to make duplicates, and maybe we want to resize this one. Now, I want you to watch the stitch count up here. I know it's really small, so I'm going to tell you it's 28,870. And when I resize this butterfly, it actually is now 27,775. So it's reducing the stitch count. So it pulls out stitches in case you're resizing smaller and you don't want it to be really dense. It takes out where it can without changing the integrity of the design. So not only can I resize, but I can also rotate. Maybe I want my butterfly to look like they're flying all in different directions. Let's do another paste. And so now when it pastes, notice it pastes exactly where I copied it, and I've rotated that one so I can see that it pasted right on top. I'm going to move this one out of the way. And for this one, maybe we want to resize it just slightly, but I'm going to mirror image it so that it looks like it's facing the other direction. Now, what I did, I'm going to do my undo key, which is probably my most used key. And so I'm going to click on the black square to the right, and I can drag that to mirror to the opposite direction, to the left. And the same is true if I were to go the opposite direction. I can also mirror the top and bottom by working with these handles here. And all of these little shapes, let me zoom in here. I'm going to click my zoom tool, and let's zoom in on this guy. And then I'm going to go back to my select tool here. Your select tool is how you will select anything. And then all of these little shapes do something different. So you can resize proportionally by using the corners. You can also resize, both, unproportionately. So if you want to adjust your design in that manner, you can also skew the design. That's what these the diamonds are. So you can see here, if I skew that, it actually kind of adjusts it. So there's actually a lot that you can do, guys, with a free program. So now I am zoomed in, and sometimes we want to pan across our screen. So we have this hand tool that you can click to pan. But just a little quick tip here, if you're in the select tool and you press your space bar, you can see how it turns to the hand. So I can just kind of scoot across my design here if I want. Isn't that cool? And so I'm actually going to zoom in a little tighter on this one. Your ruler is also a very handy tool for you when you're working with your designs. I use this sometimes to determine the distance that I have between designs. So when I click and grab here, it is showing that that's 0.64 of an inch for that distance. And if you don't like inches, you can even have it in millimeters. So I just right mouse click on my toolbar here and choose metric or inches, whichever you prefer. I'm going to leave it in metric for this. So let's measure the width of this satin stitch here. So let's zoom in even tighter. Look at that. Woo! And I'm going to grab my ruler, and I'm going to click from one point to the other. So this satin stitch is about a 1.8 millimeter. And that's good to know because your embroidery machine will only stitch, I think the max on the market is like a 9 millimeter width, but mostly for embroidery, we stay 7 millimeters or lower. So that's something that's good to know. This was our 3D realistic here. And then you do have a grid, which I'll show you that. Let's zoom out to see that grid here. Now, here's another trick. You can zoom, look how far in I'm zoomed, 1900%. This drop down arrow here will let me zoom in, out. I can fit to screen selection. I could zoom to 100%, 400%, whatever I prefer. But I'll give you another tool tip. So if you double click the magnifying glass, it'll actually bring everything onto your screen. So another thing I use regularly. So that's a tip for you guys that are already Embroidery Toolshed owners. And so if you're using it, double click the zoom tool and it'll bring everything back on your screen. So if you sometimes zoom out and you're looking for something, I just double click zoom and it brings it right back into perspective. So I love that. So we do have a grid that you can turn off and on. You can also set the distance of your grid, which can help you with your designing. If you're trying to get things perfectly spaced or aligned, the grid is really helpful in that sense. So I love that. I can also see my stitch ends. So you can see that that got kind of dark. So I'm going to zoom in here and let's look at these stitches here. You can see if I turn off my realistic, do you see all those little dots? Those are the needle penetrations for each of those stitches. So you can see that. And I can also, let's zoom back out. Remember, double click here. I can see my commands. Those commands are saying every time I'm going to have a color change. It also tells me, let's use our space bar and pan over here. The little scissors tells me it's going to stop and do a trim, so I can see that in my design as well. So let's use that handy double click on the zoom, and then I'm going to turn off those stitches and the commands and go back to realistic. And then I also wanted to let you know that you can enter and create new hoops. So the hoop icon down here below, and I'm going to get to some of your questions. I see a lot of those popping up, so I'll answer some of those coming up here in just a second. So this is a list of hoops, and you can see we have all brands of embroidery machines. We don't just limit it to one brand, but if you only have one brand of machine, the filter option will allow you to just put a check mark next to the brand or the actual hoop size that you have, and it'll filter your list so that you don't have as long of a list. You can also create your own custom size hoop if you don't see one in the list that you have. Maybe it's a specialty type hoop that we don't have listed. You can also create that. And you can even rotate the direction so that you have your design fit exactly where you need it. So I'm going to choose my 200 by 200 hoop, and then that puts it on the screen. This allows me to design within the area that's going to fit in my 200 by 200 hoop. So really easy, right? And there's just so many other things, believe it or not, with this free program that I could talk about. And I want to show you a few more things about changing your color palette to your brand of thread, your favorite brand, and having it convert for you. And then I want to talk to you about the design analyzer that will tell you the length of thread to use. But hey, let's answer some questions right now before we go any further. So I'm just starting toward the bottom, and I'll work back. So why don't I see the lacy jewelry and the embroidery tool shed? And so your jewelry that you purchase is a design collection. So when you install it, it will install under your designs category here. And so look in this list. So I've got some of the things installed from Eileen. And so when I see the Eileen Roach, because it's her collection, then I've got her lace charms and the lace jewelry. And then you can see that this is in categories here. So look there when you installed it, check in that location. Open up your embroidery tool shed and look in that location. That's a great question. So this is a good one. We just mentioned this. So can you convert the hoop sizes to standard instead of metric? Well, that's a great question. Let me click on my hoop again, and I'll show you exactly what happens. So this is a name right here. This 100 by 100 is a name of the hoop. So you could actually put in that name, and you could call it your 4 by 4 hoop or your 100 by 100. Right here, it shows the hoop in the size that, in the type of measurement that you have selected. So because I have metric selection, it says that I have that 200 by 200. I'm going to close it. Let's do a right mouse click and go to inches and go back to the hoop size, and look right there. It tells me now that 200 by 200, it converted it for me to a 7.9 by 7.9, because our metric, when we do the math, it's not exactly 8 inches, even though we call it an 8-inch hoop. So yes, that's a great question. And then I see Ann Philbeck. Thanks for joining, Ann Philbeck. She comes a lot. I always love seeing you. Is exquisite thread color in the tool shed? It absolutely is, Ann. And so when I go back over there, we'll show you that. But let me answer a few more questions here, because I'm going to show you all about the thread palettes coming up next. Will this be available later? That is another good question, Dawn. Absolutely. So this is a Facebook Live and a YouTube broadcast. So if you go back to Facebook Live and look under the live link, I think it's like in the toolbar at the top, and go to YouTube in the past live videos, then this will be available. It will not go away. It will be available from this point forward. But when I go back, I'll show you where you can find some other videos as well. So let's see if we have any other questions here. So we answered the question about converting the hoops. Absolutely, you can do that. I see we have Joanne Banco. Thanks for joining, Joanne. We always love seeing another embroidery expert here. Does this software work on Mac? So Liz, yes, it does work on Mac. So when you download it, it has the details of what you need to do for your Mac, and it's just an install of our free translator. So it gives you all the instructions that you need. Are there written instructions with all of these tips? Well, Jan, as we said, this video doesn't go away, but we do have a user manual for Embroidery Toolshed, and I'll show you where to find that as well. So great tips, but I know I'll forget. I'm with you, Jan. I definitely can relate. So Jennifer, thanks for joining. We appreciate you being here. I see Jennifer a lot too. So yes, I'm so glad you guys are here. So if you have other questions and I've missed them, feel free to ask again. I don't mind if you ask multiple times if I missed one. That doesn't bother me at all. So Ruth also asked, can you change or eliminate colors? So in the free program, Ruth, you can change the colors. I'll show you that, but you can't eliminate them in this program. That would be another one of our programs that has more editing capabilities. So and then Diamond Crystal says, if I buy a specific software like patch software, does it mean that ETS will automatically install itself on my computer? And the answer is yes. That is a really good question. Because all of our software is housed inside of Embroidery Toolshed, when you install any paid purchase of Dime software, it automatically installs in here for you to be able to continue to add and use all of the features in one place. And so, yes. And then the next question there, oh, I accidentally removed that. Sorry. So Janya says, can she copy and paste in the free version? You absolutely can. That's what I'm using is just the free version. And that copy and paste is right up here to the left of my Zoom. I've got cut, copy, and paste in the free version. So absolutely. Let me just see if there are any others, and we'll go over and talk about the thread conversion as well. So, and then Ruth Ann also said, did you have to hold down the control key down to resize? And Ruth Ann, no, I did not hold down the control key to resize. I'll go back over here. What I did, let me zoom in, is all of these little shapes, I call them handles around the design. When you have a design selected, you can see nothing is selected right now, but when I click on it, it puts that bounding box with these little shapes. And so all I have to do is click my regular left click, hold, and drag. If you use the corner handles, it will resize proportionately. And so you don't have to use a control or anything to make that stay proportional. Now, if you know exactly what size you want your butterfly, you could also come over here. Do you see I have width and height? And then I just click here and enter the size that I want it. So maybe I wanted this to be a 2-inch wide butterfly. I can put in the number 2. And because I have this maintain aspect ratio checked, it's going to make sure that it resizes proportionally. So I enter 2. It makes the adjustment on the height. I click apply, and it does it for me. So sometimes we know that we need to create a design a certain area based on what we're embroidering on. And you could also click the mirror and the flip here. And let's just do one at a time here. And when I click apply, it mirror image that. And that's the same thing I did here by clicking and dragging. But this is allowing me to just maintain the size that I've got, click apply, and it will mirror image. The flip is the opposite direction. So flips it upside down or right side up if you have it the other direction. So that's what these properties are. You also have the option to regenerate or not regenerate stitches. That's what I talked about earlier when I resized my design. If you go larger, it'll add in stitches so that you don't have gaps in your stitches. If you resize small, it will remove stitches to make sure that it's not overly dense. So it kind of maintains the integrity of the design is how I like to look at that. Okay, so now let's talk about the thread. So I'm going to use that handy double click, and let's just zoom back out and put this all together here. And then I'm going to go up to my file and go to this design analysis. Have you ever wondered, you're working on a project, maybe you're making 10, 20, 30 of the same thing? Under the design analysis, it'll actually give you this color list. So this color list will tell you how many stitches in each color. It will tell you the length of thread. How cool is that? If you've ever done a design where you're stitching the same block over and over to make, you know, like an embroidered quilt or something, you could actually check, or freestanding lace is another good use of this. You could see how much thread you're going to need if you're buying new spools, and you do a little math to convert to what's on the spool. And you can see that I can see my thread code, my thread color, and my thread brand. And I'll show you how to switch that. And then the statistics, these are just showing you the stitch length range, like the average in this pie chart, and then the production. So the production is how long is this going to take me to stitch out? So it comes up as a generic option, which is 600 stitches per minute. Takes your machine roughly 2 seconds to do a trim, and you, if you're really quick, 4 seconds to do a color change. So you can actually add your own machine. So I created one called My Machine, and I put in my most common speed, which is pedal to the metal. And so I am stitching at 1,000 stitches per minute. That design is going to take now roughly 38 minutes to stitch out. So I love that design analysis. It can give you some good details about your design. Now, the next thing I want to point out, so I have set my default color palette under my general options. I've set my default color palette to be my exquisite 40 weight embroidery thread. That's our thread here at Dime, our exquisite by Dime that I use and love. But you can change this default palette to, you know, whatever brand that you use. So switch it, and then it will automatically convert your design when it brings in to the closest colors within that palette. So, and I'll show you that in just a second. But let's say, so look at all these color chips here that are below, but I don't use all of these colors in this particular design. So if I push the minus key, it'll actually take away any color that I'm not using. And now I'm only left with these colors. So this design has 12 color changes in this design. So, or 12 different colors. Doesn't mean that there's that many color changes, but it's using 12 colors, but it might be 20 color changes depending on how many times you need to use each of those colors. Now, if I click over here to the bottom, I just click that minus key, and I can also click the plus if I need to add another color. You can see that just popped up. But I also have this option for the change palette. Now, this is something that I will sometimes use if I have, you know, maybe some other thread that I'm using. I use exquisite 40 weight, but if I wanted to say use my variegated thread, which is my exquisite medley, it'll convert the closest colors. Now that looks really crazy, but you get the idea. But you can see how it converts all of them at one time. So let's switch to, say, Isocord, and I click, and then it's converted all of the colors in my design to the number that's closest in that brand. And so when I say okay, it will maintain that. And so then the color chips along the bottom, if I didn't, say you have one spool of a brand that you just love that color and bought it, and you wanted to use that, you could also click on this color below and then change that color here. So instead of my Isocord, I could go back to my exquisite. It automatically goes to the similar color, but if I wanted to choose a different color, I could. So watch in my design, you'll see, let's choose something actually, let's choose purple because purple's not already in there, and we could probably see where that happens. So then I click OK. And it changed. You can see the little flowers down below here. It changed to purple. So you can change the colors to audition your colors to see exactly what they're going to look like in your design. So like this light pink area, we could see what it's going to look like as maybe a plum color. Ooh, I kind of like that, right? Isn't that cool? It matches our butterfly too. So yes, you can adjust colors, and you could change thread palettes and the different types of the different brands of thread palettes as well. So all of this, guys, in the free embroidery tool shed. So let me just see if we have other questions that have popped up. So I'm going to try to keep these to roughly that 30-minute mark. We're over because I know that, like we just mentioned, this could get this could get a little overwhelming if we go through a month. too much. So let's see if we have any last questions, and then we'll talk about what we're going to talk about next time. So Sarah says, is this a free software? And yes, it is. So, and you're welcome. So I think that's a great thing too. And so we have a question from Trisha Phillips, says, which is why I need a 15 needle machine. I agree. I think Trisha Phillips is referring to whenever I said, it could be 20 color changes. And I totally agree, Trisha. It makes it so nice to be able to just put all the colors on there and let it do its thing. So, and then Sherry says, are you going to show how to bring a design from elsewhere? I can definitely show that. I was going to talk about that next week too, but I can definitely show that, Sherry. I'll do that before I go. Let's see if we have any other questions. So can I load repurchase designs into Toolshed? Absolutely. When you purchase a design, it usually is in your stitch file format that you choose, and we can read all of the formats that we can write to. So yes, if you purchase embroidery designs, if you download free designs, don't get me wrong, I love to download anybody's free design. So you definitely can do that inside of Embroidery Toolshed too. So to bring in a design that you have on your computer that maybe is not in our Embroidery Toolshed library here, and I'll show you actually where you can put stuff to help with that. If you go File and Open, just like other programs that you have on your computer, it will allow you to select your design. So let's go and grab one of these earring designs here. Now, even though this is our design here at Dime, but it works the same way because we read all of the embroidery file formats. So you can click File and Open. And when you click Open, it actually puts it on a new workspace. So that's cool, right? So it doesn't interfere with your design here. Now, if you want that design over on your other page, when you open it, you could just copy it and paste it. So I could select it by dragging a box around it and then click my copy and then go over here because I have multiple tabs. And then here I would click paste on this screen and you could see it pasted it and I could put it where I want it. Now that little rogue earring doesn't go with our design here, so I'll just delete that one. But let's talk about where the designs are over here in my library. So this little book is my design library. If I were to right mouse click on that folder and say show contents, this is another tip for all of you inspiration software users out there. So let me do that again. It takes me right to the folder where those designs are all stored. If I scroll down, you can see here in the bottom, that's the two designs that we've been using. Now mine show as little images because I have Perfect Stitch Viewer, which we're going to talk about next week. But let me do that again. If you click on any of these folders, right mouse click, and say show contents, it will take you to that folder. So any designs that you put into this folder, which is at location C Dime Designs, is going to show up in this library. So I can then click and drag right from the library, which I love to do. Or let's open up this one and I double click here and open up this design. This is actually a PES file, so it's not our native format, and it's still opened up fantastic. And I can see down below, it actually converted those colors to my exquisite thread palette for me because they were not originally in that. But notice I have different tabs open and I can actually go between these tabs and work on multiple designs at once. I can even create a new workspace here and start adding additional designs. So you can be working on multiples at once. All of this, guys, in a free program. Is that impressive or what? So I love it. So I see Jennifer says, Jennifer Alexander. So yeah, it's really easy. And I'm sure Ashley will show it in Word Art and Stitches. Yes. Whenever I get to Word Art and Stitches, absolutely. We will be able to answer all of those questions. So we'll be able to work through a variety of different programs. Every other week, I'll be here with you working on a different program. So can you change it to make a design be an applique? Pat, not in the free embroidery tool shed. That would be our Perfect Embroidery Pro, our patch and applique maker could also do that for you, or our My Quilt Embellisher as well. So, and then Rebecca says you can do all of that with the free version. Yes, Rebecca, you absolutely can. And so then Mary asked, why are there options for PES file formats? So that's a good question, Mary. As embroidery machines change, the format that the machine reads also sometimes changes, and it usually changes because it incorporates more data into that design that it tells the machine everything to do. So as over the years, as machines have advanced, then the file type also sometimes changes. So when that file type changes, we add that new file type. You don't have to get a different software. We are always adding the new formats as they come out from the different machine companies. And you'll always be able to save to the most current, but we also don't take away the old ones. So if you're using an older format for your machine, you don't have to do anything any different, so it'll just automatically do it. So, and then Suzanne says, will it sort colors? Not in the free version. That is pretty much any other version. And I'm going to talk about a way that you can do that next week manually when you're using one additional piece of software with this program. We'll talk about that. So just looking to see if there's any others before we go. If you have other questions, I'm going to show you where you can get additional help from, and you can find me over on our Facebook group as well. So Nancy says, does it work with other embroidery designs from other manufacturers? Absolutely, it does, Nancy. We do not discriminate. We read all embroidery machine formats. Now, some software save to a native file format, and so we don't read other software's native file formats because those are specific to the embroidery software. But any embroidery design format we do. So the ones that you use in your embroidery machines, home or commercial, it will work with. So let me show you where you can go to get some additional help. You can download the free embroidery tool shed over on our DZGNS site. And then you can also, over on inspiredbydime.com, I want to show you where you can learn about our program. So on this page, if you click on support, you have lots of options to help you with your software. But if you go to the community forum, these options here are free to you. We have all kinds of free education. So if you click on this, it'll take you right to our Facebook group. You can actually find our education team over there answering questions for you on any of our software, even the free embroidery tool shed. So just tell us over there which program you're using, because different ones have different features. So we need to know which one you're working with. So if you just have embroidery tool shed, there's nothing wrong with that. We would love for you to come join us. But just let us know that what you're working in, so we know which features that you have. We have hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. If you click that, it takes you right to our YouTube channel, and you can explore those videos. You can also check out Eileen's blog. If you click there, it'll take you. And we have an inspiration forum, is also another question and answer type forum. You can ask questions, or you can also see past questions as well, similar to Facebook. And we have PDF workbooks that you could purchase, and we also have private classes. Can you believe that? So we actually have a private class that you can purchase for $30 for 30 minutes with one of our education team members. It'll take you if you click it here, it'll take you right to that schedule. You can choose a time that works for you, and you guys meet and get a one-on-one lesson. So that is pretty cool, I think. So those are all free options for learning your software. Now, lastly, before we go, don't forget you have these free in-app videos. Also, if you hover over any of these icons, it'll tell you to press F2 to see how to work that video. If you press F2, it'll play a little short video of exactly what that feature does. Also, somebody asked earlier about the user manual. If you click help and manual, it will open up the manual for Embroidery Toolshed. So you can see there, it opens up in a PDF. So you could print this manual if you'd like. But I also want to point out one other thing. When you click help and manual, that's for Embroidery Toolshed, the free version. Over in our shopping cart here, if you press the dot next to the software that you have, like a Perfect Embroidery Pro, Word Art and Stitches, that's where you'll find the manual specific to that feature, that particular featured program. So you can help there as well. But let me show you this one last thing before we go, and I'll leave you there. All the things that I showed you today, if you click this little film strip, it will take you to our YouTube channel and right to the videos that we have specifically to Toolshed. So these videos are all of the things that you can do in the free Embroidery Toolshed. So there's a video reminder of what we talked about today if you feel like I went a little too fast. But also remember, those of you that have other dime programs, the Embroidery Toolshed is our foundation. So all of these features are in all of the software because they come from the Embroidery Toolshed. So this is your location where you can view these because you also have these features as well. And we're going to build on all of this information as we go. So don't forget to take advantage of those free opportunities to learn your software program. So, and next week, or not next week, I keep saying next week because I'm thinking of our other Facebook Live, but I will be back with you in 2 weeks. So the first and the third Tuesday, we will go over a different subject. So what I'm doing in 2 weeks, I'm going to stay with the free Embroidery Toolshed, but I'm going to show you how you can do a little bit more. So I'm going to talk about finding your files. I'm going to talk about editing designs, because if you have one additional piece of our software, it actually is inexpensive and it gives you the capability to edit your design, literally delete parts and pieces. So I'm going to show you that next week, and we will talk about adding those other programs. So we're going to build on this, and I'll see you twice a month. If you have questions, then meet me over there on the Facebook group and tag me. You'll see that people tag me over there. Tag our other educators. If you have a favorite educator, tag her, ask her a question if you want. But that's all a great place, great places to get some free education. So like us on Facebook and also follow our YouTube channel, and that will get you the notifications. Make sure you subscribe. It'll get you notifications about all of our Facebook Lives, the Software Success Facebook Lives, and also our Between Friends, which you can see Eileen on every Thursday at 1 p.m. And she also will show some little snippets of software as well. So, okay, I had a blast. If you can't tell, I love my software. It's a helpful tool, and I want to help you love your software too. So join me every other week. So that's the first and the third Tuesday to just talk about software. I'll answer your questions and I'll try to give you tips and tricks along the way. And we'll even make some designs, you know, build some little things that you can maybe turn into a stitched project. So until I see you on another Facebook Live.